All right, y'all. We are back with episode 4, or I guess we could just call this episode 3, part 2. We are discussing all things agritourism once again with Hailey Sorg. This is from the Cowboy State, and I am your host, Michaela Getz. This is a University of Wyoming Extension podcast focused on all things agriculture and natural resources. Let's jump right into it, okay? Keeping on the topic of trends and everything here, what other trends do you see across the state for the field of agritourism that we should be aware of?
Well, I think looking across Wyoming, people are coming to Wyoming.
Yes.
People are flocking here. It's summertime. We feel it. I know you guys are feeling it up here in Park County, especially,
yes.
the tourists, the people are coming.
Yep.
And so as people are coming to Wyoming, they're wanting to have these agritourism experiences.
Sure.
They are wanting to, like we said, in those 5 categories. They're wanting to be educated. They want to have fun experiences. They want to have great hospitality. People are coming to Wyoming.
Right.
I think we saw in 2023 about 8.6 million visitors come to Wyoming. And so, those are numbers from the Wyoming Office of Tourism. And those numbers continue to grow every year.
Right.
So, and just how amazing it is to see them come together and to have this agritourism aspect and continue to have both grow. So I would say that those are some of the trends that I see overarching, as well as, we talked about those 5 categories, that outdoor recreation. People continue to want to come to Wyoming to get outside, get out into our natural lands. They want to have those horseback riding experiences. They want to have those outfitters, those guides to be able to take them out into these special, amazing places that we get to call home every day. So people are really looking for those outdoor experiences. And like I said, just those unique ways for people to get connected with agriculture, get connected with the land, with the people around them. I think those are just some of the trends that we see coming with agritourism here in Wyoming.
Perfect. So we've talked about trends. We've talked about the relevance of agritourism in Wyoming. So if we do have an operation and they have decided, this is their passion, they've decided they want to diversify, are there resources out there, or is there somewhere that maybe the owner, stakeholders, what have you, can go to find those resources?
Yeah, 100%. There are so many amazing resources. And like I said, we are just seeing agritourism continue to grow, not just here in Wyoming, but nationally and internationally. Right. So there are so many amazing resources for these producers to be able to use if they're looking to diversify into that agritourism side of things. First and foremost, maybe a little plug for UW Extension. I would say go and speak to your local extension agent.
Right.
We are located in every county around Wyoming.
Right.
We have so many amazing people who are here to help connect you to resources, whether that's resources within UW Extension, resources with the university, other educational institutions around Wyoming, as well as connecting you with resources from other places as well. So I would say that'd be a first stop, is go talk to your UW Extension agent, or give me a call. I know that Michaela said that my contact information will be at the end of this podcast, and so I am always happy to talk with people about their ideas, resources, get them pointed in the right direction. That's really what we're here to do. As extension educators, is to help support the great work that they're doing around the state. Going along with that, though, I think that there's a lot of great Wyoming resources that we have here as well. Yeah. So places like the Wyoming Office of Tourism, the Wyoming Department of Agriculture. I know there's the Dude Ranchers Association. Places like the Wyoming Business Council, the University of Wyoming, or the other great community colleges that we have around the state have a lot of other great resources as well to be able to tap into when people are looking to diversify their operation. I would also suggest go and talk into your local chamber. They've got some really great resources within there as well, talking with your local destination marketing organizations, so those places like Visit Cody, Visit Cheyenne, your Johnson County Tourism Association. They've got some great connections as well to help things get rolling and help you in those ways as well with the marketing side of things. Yeah. And then also making sure that you're talking to your insurance agents, your bankers, making sure that risk management side of things is taken care of. So those are a lot of really great Wyoming resources, and there's so many more. And like I said, the first part, talking to your extension agent, even if we don't have all of the answers, we can help get you connected. So maybe there's those other resources around the state that you don't know how to get connected with. We can help you with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And two, I don't think a lot of folks know that, maybe not every single service, because I don't want to say every single service and then have that not be true.
Yeah.
But almost every single service we provide is free.
Yes.
To community members throughout the state. So like Hailey said, don't hesitate to stop into your extension office, call, email, send a carrier pigeon, whatever's going to work best for you. Don't hesitate, though, to reach out to your UW extension office. And, of course, we're going to take multiple chances to use that plug-in because this is a UW extension podcast.
Yes.
So
yes, and we are here to support
yes.
the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
But like I said, there's so many great resources, and
yes.
as we're seeing agritourism grow in Wyoming, nationally, internationally, there's also so many amazing resources
there really
outside
are.
of Wyoming as well. Most of us have access to the internet.
Yes.
A lot of us carry around our phones in our pockets with
right.
us every day. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing you have access to the internet somehow. So there's a lot of really great resources from other educational institutions, other organizations, nationally, internationally. Some that come to mind for me is there's the AgMark website, which is the Agricultural Marketing Resource Center.
Right.
And so they are a great hub of resources and have a whole section devoted to agritourism that they're currently building out as well. So some really great resources there to learn more about agritourism as a whole. Places like the Global Agritourism Network. So this is a network of people, of producers, educators, marketing organizations, people just generally interested in agritourism from around the world, able to connect with each other. So that is a really great resource to not only meet other people within the agricultural industry, the agritourism industry,
right.
but also being able to share, about what you're doing, learn about new ideas, new ways to do things, and connect with people from other parts of the world doing similar work who have that same passion as you. So that's a really great resources. Things like Farm Stay USA, the North American Farmers Direct Marketing Association, or NAFTMA, has some really great resources. The American Indian Alaskan Native Tourism Association, IENTA, and so many more. I mean, I could go on. We could be here on and on for hours talking about just places and resources to learn more about agritourism when you're looking to diversify your operation. Those are just a few that come to mind. But reach out to people. Start asking the questions.
Right.
I mean, there's so many different ways to get this information that if you are looking to diversify, there's ways to get resources about that.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So we've laid out the resources and, defined terms, etc. What do you believe first steps in that diversification process would look like? Do you think it's as simple as setting up social media pages, or do you think there's really something different that if an operation is like, okay, so we have this piece of the pie or this piece of the puzzle, we think we want to take first steps. What does that really look like, you think, in that agritourism industry?
Yeah. Well, it's going to look so different for every operation.
Absolutely.
I mean, as we all know, every agricultural operation is different from the next one across the street or down the way. So it's going to look different for everybody, no matter where they're starting. And so I would say that if there is an operation who's looking into agritourism, maybe as a way to diversify their revenue, or just really something that they're passionate about that they want to add to their farm, to their ranch, and they haven't had something like that before, my first step, I would say, to start with an agritourism business plan.
Good point.
Yeah. So many of the producers, many of the farms, ranches have some kind of business plan in place. I mean, that's how you're making sure that things are running smoothly, you're making money, all of that. It's a very important part of things. I don't know about anybody else, but I love having a plan. It's so important to me. But when you're looking to add this agritourism part to your traditional operation, having a separate agritourism business plan, just really going through and thinking about, what is it that you want to do? How do you want to do that? What is that going to look like?
Yeah.
Really just mapping those things out. It doesn't have to be this big, robust,
20 page.
Yes. It doesn't have to be this big thing. but just really sitting down, whether it's on paper, on your laptop, having a plan of, this is why we want to do it, this is what we want to do, how we're going to do it, and keeping that with you. And it will probably change. I think that whenever you're adding an agritourism aspect, I mean, you got to be a little
Things
fluid.
evolve.
Things evolve, things change. But kind of having a main goal, that main plan in place so that you can continue to move forward, I would say would be the first step.
Right.
And there are so many resources within UW Extension as well as other great resources around the state to help you with those business plans as well, to really make sure that you're thinking it all through, getting those things together. But I would say that would be my first step. And then my second step would be in going to talk to your local insurance provider, your banks, more again like on that risk management side of things, that making sure that everything's going to be okay, because how you can operate agritourism looks different in all parts of the world, in all parts of the country, in all parts of even Wyoming.
Right.
Like we said, every operation is different from another. Every agritourism operation is going to be different from the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so making sure that you have kind of that background work done, that business plan, you're making sure that you've got that risk management stuff, talking with your insurance provider, making sure you're covered. We want to make sure that our producers are covered and safe, that when you are bringing people out to your operation, that they're safe, that your property, your products,
just everything is taken care of.
Yeah, that everything's taken care of. And so that's kind of those nitty-gritty parts.
Sure.
That, not everybody, it's work, and you got to, make sure that everything's in place to do this. And so those are kind of the nitty-gritty things. But then, like you said, that social media, that website part, I feel like once you have those in place, or if you already have kind of an agritourism operation going and you've already kind of figured some of that stuff out, that next step is that marketing. It's making sure that your social media is up and going. It is making sure that you have a presence on those social media
making
apps.
sure you can be found.
Exactly. It's making sure that your website is updated. Even, your contact information is updated on there, or even creating a website if you don't have one.
Right.
Because in this digital age that we live in,
yes,
that's how people are going to find you.
Yep.
I mean, that's how people, I don't know about anybody else, but one of my first things is when I look something up and their Facebook page pops up, I'm going to go to their Facebook page.
Right.
Because I'm going to see, what are they posting? What's going on there? Is this somewhere that I want to go?
Right. Or even their Google business profile.
Google business. Yes.
Right.
100%. And so having that online presence is so important.
Right.
Because that's where people are going to go first. Whether that's comparing your operation to another one and seeing where they would rather go. It is so, I can't stress it enough, so important to make sure that you have those up and going. And I know that it can be so hard because producers, I mean, you are already doing so much, and it feels like sometimes there are only so many hours of the day and there's so many other things to handle, that adding on this extra marketing side of things can be a little intimidating, can be a little difficult. But I promise that you do not have to have a marketing degree to do this. Yeah.
No. There's tons of resources like you've mentioned. We're up here in Cody today recording this episode. And as Hailey mentioned, going into your local chamber, Powell Chamber of Commerce has a team, maybe one person specifically, but at least a team, or at least, a person who their whole job is to help your organization with writing up business plans, working on presentations, etc. So, like Hailey's talking about, if you're looking to get into this agritourism field and you just don't know where to start, or if you're in those very first beginning stages and you need help writing up that business plan or your farm management plan, and you're in Park County, Powell Chamber can be a good resource to start with. Yeah. All of their information is available online. I don't have it handy, but Powell Chamber is, as Hailey stated, a good resource to start with.
Yeah. But there are so many other amazing organizations that help you kind of get these plans started. And then even these resources of, social media best practices. And, what should I be posting? How often? I mean,
there's freelance people who that's all they do on their day-to-day.
Exactly. And I think that we with Extension are also able to help connect you with those resources, or help find them, and even help get you pointed in the right direction.
Yep.
So like we said, starting with that social media, that website, but also, getting in touch, like Michaela said, with your local chamber, with your local visitor center, saying, hey, we're going to be offering this, how can we start getting this promoted? I want you to know about it, so you can start pointing people in this direction. It's really, we see this a lot in Wyoming, that word of mouth.
Yes.
You know, and that's something that
Yep.
we really have in our Wyoming culture here that I so love, that we still rely on that word of mouth in our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked about this earlier when you asked me, what does agriculture mean to you? And it's a community. And in Wyoming, I think we take that very seriously. And, you know, these are our communities. These are our friends, our family, our people. And so making sure that you're getting connected with them, whether it's your, like I said, visitor center, chamber, your marketing destination organizations, your tourism boards, your hotels, other nearby attractions, other agritourism operations around you.
Absolutely.
I mean, all boats rise with the rising tide. And so being able to work with each other and saying, hey, you're offering this experience and I'm offering this experience. Let's cross-promote each other. You know, get your people to come here. I'll send my people over there. How can we work together?
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's really one thing that I've loved about agritourism is that it is a community and that people are here and they want to support you. I mean, I talk about this all the time with, you know, tourism or outdoor recreation and even agritourism. People don't tend to go places intending to have a bad time. You know?
Right.
They want to go. No.
Nobody chooses to go somewhere and says, let's go and have a bad day there.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, no. They want to have a good time.
Right.
And so people are usually very excited to help and support and,
Yes.
you know, get out there.
Yep.
And so those are kind of my first 3 steps that I would
Sure.
recommend. You know, this is not a set in stone, follow Hailey's rules of agritourism. But definitely making sure you have that agritourism business plan,
Yes.
just for even yourself, just to kind of know, you know, what are the goals? What's the plan? What are we doing here? It can be scary to get started, but you just got to jump in.
Absolutely.
And get it going.
Absolutely. So, kind of staying on this topic/trend, something we've talked about through all of the podcast episodes so far, and hopefully, you know, folks are starting to see a trend, is agriculture, ranching, farms, operations in 2024 are not just hopping in the tractor, plowing up a field,
Yes.
and then taking it to the local elevator or taking it to your farmer's market to sell. It's so much more than that, because obviously we've talked about agritourism. Rob, on our previous episode, talked about high feeder prices. Micah, on the very first episode, talked about grant programs. There's so many different things that you have to do to continue to evolve. Apply for grant programs. Watch your market. Well, we've always watched our markets, but just, you know, monitor your input costs and monitor your direct-to-consumer markets. We're talking about agritourism, social media, reaching out to your local I mean, we're talking about a lot today.
Yeah.
This is a hefty episode. So I guess my question / my pivot to you, Hailey, is, you know, farms, ranches, operations that we've seen, or I think that I've seen, that aren't taking part in these direct sales / this agritourism, I think I've seen choose to not participate because either one, you know, they think that nobody wants to hear their story. I think we know that's not necessarily true, but, you know, they think that they don't want to, or people don't want to hear their story. Number two, they just simply don't know where to start. Rewind a few moments. Or number three, they just don't want to partake in general. So I guess my question is, you know, how would you address those 3 points there?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with those statements. You know, in my work within agritourism and living in Wyoming and getting to know producers, you know, in Wyoming as well as nationally and internationally, I would 100% agree with all of those points. And I'd like to take them into chunks and, you know, talk about each one directly. So addressing your first point about, you know, they think that nobody wants to hear their story. You know, I think that many people can be scared about this, you know, about sharing their story. They believe that nobody wants to hear it, or they think that maybe they don't have a story to tell at all.
Right.
You know, a lot of this is normal day-to-day stuff. It's when, you know, those farm tours, when you're just bringing people out to show them what you do, you know, this is normal for you.
Right.
You know, that's your day-to-day. And so thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have anything to share. This is just normal for me. But as a former tour guide, I can 100% promise you that everybody has a story to tell, and that there's always an audience looking for that story.
Absolutely.
We have so many amazing farms and ranches and other agricultural productions here in Wyoming that, have been around for generations, or even ones who are new to Wyoming. And this is, they're starting off their first farm or ranch, and they're doing it here in our great state. And each of them have a very unique story to tell. They've got something to share. Like we've said, every operation is different from the next, no matter where you are. They're all going to be a little different. And because of that, everybody has a very unique perspective, a unique experience to be able to share with people that there's always going to be an audience looking for. Like I said, people are continuing to come to Wyoming. There's going to be an increase of people every year coming to visit Wyoming.
Yes.
And a lot of those experiences that they're wanting are those agricultural experiences. They want to learn. Yes. They want to know. They want to have this experience, this, your day-to-day, your lifestyle. They want to experience that.
They want to be a part of it, even if it's just for a day.
Yes, 100%. For a day, for an hour, for just to be able to drive by and say they were there.
Right.
And so there's always going to be a story to tell. It's just tapping in and figuring out exactly how to tell that story, of how to captivate your audience and what exactly, we've talked a little bit about this at the beginning, all these different pieces of the agritourism pie and which piece is yours and how can you tap into that.
Yep. And
so then going into your second point, that they don't know where to start. Like you said, rewind a little bit.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about that. We talked about the great resources that we have here, about kind of those first steps of when you're thinking about diversifying and not knowing where to go. Just following that and being curious, reaching out to people, asking the questions, asking other operations, hey, how did you do this? Mm-hmm. I want to do the same thing.
Right. People love to share their knowledge.
Yes, they love to share their knowledge. They love to share their story.
Yes.
We just said it. They love to share their story. And so being able to just be curious about it, and not being afraid to start, because it can be scary, but just jumping in and seeing where it goes. Like I said, being very fluid in that plan and flexible about where things can go. But yeah, there are so many great resources in Wyoming and around the country, around the world, to be able to get this going if that's what you want. And then your third point, which I really love that you brought this up, that they don't want to partake in agritourism in general. And I think that is 100% okay. Agritourism is not for everyone.
Right.
It's not for everyone. It's not for every operation. And that is 100% okay. Although I love tourism, and
sure.
A lot of us do, and
yes.
This is a very exciting topic for a lot of people, and they want to know about it. We're not here to say every operation needs to have an agritourism part of things. That is 100% okay if it is not your wheelhouse, if this is not what you really want to do or not where you foresee your operation going. And so this past January, was able to go on a trip to Switzerland with UW Extension to learn a little bit more about agriculture over there, also really looking into agritourism in Switzerland and what they're doing. And it's so funny because this exact conversation came up for me with one of the producers about, why do you want to do agritourism? Is it for everyone? Like, how does this work? And in one of my conversations with a local Black Angus producer, they had their beef operation as well as they had an event space where they had local community events, weddings, those kinds of things. They said that they also had different events on their property throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So I was able to ask him, like, how did you get this started? Like, what made this happen? And he told me that to have an agritourism business, you have to have a passion for it.
Right.
And that, thankfully, his parents had a passion for agritourism. So when they started their operation, they really wanted to have this event space and be able to have that as part of what they were doing. And then they were able to pass that and instill that into himself and his brother, who they now oversee the operation together, and able to continue to run both sides of their operation with that agritourism side of things. But that you have to have a passion for it. And he told me that not everybody has a passion for it. And that's 100% okay. And that really stuck with me, because I think that, a lot of times as agritourism is growing and as it's gaining momentum, people think, oh my goodness, I got to jump on this train. Which, if you do, that's great.
Sure.
But if you don't, you're not going to be left behind.
No, that's okay.
That's 100% okay. And I love that with agritourism, there are so many different options. But even if you decide to not do it in your operation, that's okay. And you can still support others who are leaning into that as well.
Right.
So going into your point of that producers, they just don't want to partake in agritourism in general, that's okay.
Right.
That's 100% okay.
No, I love that because it's so true. You do have to have a passion for not just agritourism if that's the route you're going to go down, but for everything I think that you do at some point,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You know, agriculture, as we've discussed across all of our episodes so far, is such a huge umbrella. It always has been, it always will be. You can have a passion for row cropping, for sustainable ag, for high feeder cattle
Yes.
markets, for agritourism. I mean, you can have a passion for really anything, or you can have a passion for a couple things and bring them together, like we discussed earlier. I mean, it doesn't have to be all of this, and I think the important part, like you've discussed already, is funding what it is and then going with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point, and I am so happy that you brought that up.
Well, and there's so many different options too within agritourism.
Right.
If you do have that passion for it, you know, there's so many different ways, and you don't have to do it all either.
No.
I was just having a conversation with a local producer in the Casper area the other day, and she was sharing with me that, you know, she has an agritourism operation, and you know, she's kind of going this way, and things are changing a little bit, and she's kind of thinking that there's one direction she wants to go, and you know, that's okay. She doesn't have to fulfill all of the things. You don't have to be everything, but that's what makes all of these operations unique, and just finding your passion for it and just being able to share that with others. And I think a lot of people do share that. And, you know, I think some of the most passionate people I know are producers. And whether that is within agritourism or just continuing your operation as is, which is 100% okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's great. All right. Well, you have given us a huge spotlight on this field, and I so appreciate that, and a huge list of resources as well.
Yeah.
So are there any upcoming programs throughout the state or specifically in Natrona County that you wanted to share?
Well, I will say that the Wyoming Sheep and Wool Festival is coming up in July 12th through the 14th, and that's going to be in Thermopolis, Wyoming. I will be there speaking about agritourism and value-added marketing. Great. So if you enjoy this kind of talk about agritourism, I will be there as well, and I'd be happy to answer questions and have people pick my brain. I will be speaking on July 13th, I think around noon. So that's coming up with the Wyoming Sheep and Wool Festival. It's also fair season is coming up.
Yes.
We with Extension are feeling that, you know, with our 4-H educators getting ramped up for that, and all of us supporting them and the great kiddos that we have coming in for fair season. So I'd say go enjoy your local county fairs. Go and talk with people and learn more. And there are just so many amazing opportunities to learn yourselves as well as encourage future generations of producers here in Wyoming. So go to your local county fairs, participate in Wyoming State Fair coming up in August in Douglas. And so getting ready for all of that, as well as it's summer farmers market seasons.
Yes.
I know I've seen quite a few popping up every now and then in all the places that I've been, and been able to stop at quite a few of them, which are wonderful. So go enjoy your farmers markets, you know, support your local producers, find your other local agritourism operations. Go have an experience. Just because you live here in Wyoming doesn't mean that you can't go experience the agritourism operations that we have here. You know,
go do something new.
Go do something new. Go try something fun. I mean, we have so many amazing agritourism opportunities throughout Wyoming.
Yes.
So go enjoy some.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Hailey, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for traveling up to Cody today. I do appreciate that.
Thank y'all once again for tuning in. This concludes our 2-part series with Mrs. Hailey Sorg out of Natrona County there in Casper. As a reminder, Hailey is our Wyoming Outdoor Recreation, Tourism, and Hospitality, or WORTH for short, Initiative Extension Educator. Hailey can be reached at hsorg@uyo.edu. And if you are located there in Casper, don't hesitate to stop on in or give her a call. Her office number is 307-235-9400. We will be putting that in the little info box on Spotify. But again, if you don't have that easily accessible, there's the information for you. Any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us or go on to the University of Wyoming Extension website. We're always happy to, like I said, field those questions and answer any questions, comments, concerns. And of course, University of Wyoming Extension is an equal opportunity educator and employer, as the entire university is. And if you have any questions about the podcast, I am your host, Michaela Getz, and you can reach me at mgetz@uwyo.edu or 307-527-8568. Thank you all so much for tuning in once again, and we'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Cheers, y'all.